This day in history, August 28, 1963, is now known as the day America heard hope. On this day, more than 250,000 people, black and white, young and old, male and female, all marched together on Washington, D.C., for jobs and freedom. They were met by a scorching sun, a heavy police presence, and most of all, an oppressive heat that made this day one of the most sweltering days in D.C. history. But the marchers stayed. They stayed because they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And what they gained that day would echo throughout history. It was the day the March on Washington uncovered, the largest demonstration in U.S. history up to that date. It was the culmination of months of planning by civil rights leaders who wanted to bring attention to the inequalities faced by African Americans in the South. The plan was to have a massive peaceful protest in front of the Lincoln Memorial, an area just 2 blocks from the White House. But as the crowd began to gather, it became clear that this was no ordinary day. People were coming from all over the country, many of them risking their lives to be there. As the numbers swelled, so did the energy. By the time the marchers reached the Lincoln Memorial, the heat was unbearable. But there they stood, shoulder to shoulder, singing freedom songs and listening to the great orators of the day. Among them was a young minister from Atlanta named Martin Luther King Jr. When he stepped up to the podium, the crowd was restless. King had become a symbol of the civil rights movement. But many of the more radical activists did not want a nonviolent protest. They wanted action, any action to end the violence and the hate. But King spoke to them anyway, and when he did, he spoke about hope. He spoke about the dream that one day his children would live in a nation where they would be judged not by the color of their skin but by the content of their character. His words were powerful and the crowd loved it. In the end, the march was successful. It put the issue of civil rights front and center in the national debate and helped to pave the way for the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was truly the day America heard hope, but the story doesn't end there. After the march, King and other civil rights leaders went to the White House to meet with President Kennedy. They wanted to get the president's support for their cause, but Kennedy was not interested. He told them that he didn't want to get involved in such a volatile issue and that if they pushed him, he would lose the support of the southern states. In fact, he told them to go back to the South and wait until after the election. But the civil rights leaders didn't want to wait. They wanted change now, so they took their fight to the streets. They organized boycotts, sit-ins, and freedom rides. They were met with violence, arrests, and even death, but they kept at it, and eventually they won. The March on Washington was a turning point in the civil rights movement. It put the issue of racial equality on the national agenda and forced America to confront its sins. It was also a defining moment for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was the first time he had ever spoken at a mass rally, and he didn't just deliver a speech, he gave a life-changing sermon. The March on Washington is a testament to the power of hope. Hope that things can get better. Hope that we can make a difference, and hope that one day we will live in a world where everyone is equal.